Welcome back to Man in Your Corner with me, Shaun Tucker, health scientist and breathing performance trainer. We are here in the living lab documenting the science, the struggle, and the shift for every man who's ready to bridge that gap between his recovery and his performance. So if you want to recover just as hard as you train, be sure to listen in. Your body knew before you did. The pressure, the adrenaline dump, all of it. Your body was signaling way before you even picked up on it. Trust me, this episode is going to be a good one. But before we get into it, please can you go ahead and give us a rating on your podcast platform right now? That way it helps get this message in front of the man who needs to hear it today. Thanks so much for that. So your body knew before you did. What does that mean? When you are under immense pressure, when you are carrying a load where maybe you don't even know how much you're carrying. I mean, deep down you do, but on the surface, maybe you don't. And then when you have a massive adrenaline dump, so the pressure gets even higher. I mean, relating back to myself when I was in the cage, my very first fight, I got TKO'd in 16 seconds. When that bell went off and I was ready to go and have a fight against another man, look, I wasn't shitting myself, but I wasn't really in my body. I was kind of just stuck in my head. All I had in my head was, let's grab a hold of him and don't let go, because that's exactly what my coach said, who called me about an hour earlier. Anyways, point of this episode is to really understand that your body's trying to signal something a lot earlier. And sometimes it even shows up through messages or visions or other places in your reality. And for me on that night, it was, I didn't have my coach in my corner. I had another sub coach. So I had the head of the program ready to come and sub me as a coach in that space. But then a few minutes before I was meant to go out, they called an ambulance, not for me, but for one of the fighters 2 fights before, because he was suffering concussion. Then the coach that I had subbed from my original coach, who couldn't make it on the day, was subbed out, and my competitor's coach was subbed in. You know, I don't know if you can see the message that clear, but effectively, I still chose to continue to move forward. I still chose to go to war against another man. Cards were against me. I didn't have my coach who was there through my whole training camp, supporting me in my corner. I had then a guy I barely knew in my corner who was quite busy. I mean, he wrapped my hands for the night, but he was very busy on the night because he's head of the program. Anyways, then one step further, I was then coached or cornered by my competitor's coach. The guy who was there with my competitor, with the guy I was fighting, the whole training camp, as his supporter, as his head coach. You know, it sounds like to me a conflict of interest, but got to understand that this is a beginner-friendly fight. This is a pre-amateur fight. This is not making it onto someone's MMA record. This is effectively what you would do if you've never been in the cage before or never really picked up gloves or sparred or done any of that. And I had, 6 months of experience 10 years ago doing some jiu-jitsu. That's it. Doesn't really count. Your body is trying to tell you something. Your body knew before you did. My body was already preparing to lose. I mean, let's be honest. I, in my mind, thought, well, I can do this. I can go ahead and maybe get a submission, or maybe just hold him down long enough that I win some points, or just take him down and then I'll win. Or maybe if I'm lucky, I'll submit him, because I did favor grappling in that whole expedition, that whole training camp, because the program that we were meant to do didn't go ahead. So there was some red flags, and I knew there were some red flags, but I still followed the path that I chose. You can call me stupid. Many people do. But I like to say that I'm a creator of my own destiny. And I urge you to create your own destiny too. But first, make sure you're paying attention to the body, because you will eventually get caught out, or the body will catch up. Eventually, the mind will start paying attention to the body if the body's loud enough. And I guess for you, it might be that you've got a little niggle in your shoulder or in your rib, right? And then it turns out to be much more painful and much more, let's say, turns out to be much more dangerous in the long term, because your recovery gets compromised. Your ability to actually go into those end ranges of motion gets compromised. Your ability to train as hard as you can and train as hard as you were gets compromised. Because your mind will try to protect the body if it feels like it's going to get injured. If your mind thinks that a tendon in your body is going to snap, it will tense up very hard around those, with the muscles in that area, to prevent that tendon from snapping. So pay attention. Pay attention to what's happening in the body. And if you do find that there's little minor niggles here and there, and this is what I learned in the first camp that I did, and I hope you learn some things about what I'm going to share too, because I remember when I was wrestling and I felt funny on my elbow, and I was like, yeah, that's about a 6 out of 10 pain, right? And I was like full of adrenaline, because the other guy, I wanted to beat the other guy. And one thing you should know is, if you get into combat sports, like, do it for the sake of learning and just the sake of getting better every single time you show up. Tap early and make sure you look after your teammates, because they are your teammates. They are your teammates, right? They're training in the same club as you. You might not like them. You might not like them every time. They might go a little bit hard sometimes in sparring, but like it or not, they are your teammates. So look after them. Treat them like family. The other thing is, if you land and you feel like there's an injury or maybe a discomfort, even if it's like a 5 out of 10 pain or even slightly less, is it worth risking your ability to get better and learn every single time you show up? Or do you want to just compete with your ego and stay on the mats and fight the other guy? Because last time I did this camp, the same training program, I certainly was battling with my ego. And I've had to learn this time to tap early, tap quickly, and look after each other. Look after my teammates. If it's 30% intensity when you're landing strikes in sparring, that's what we do. We do 30% or less. We don't do 60%. We don't do 70%. We don't do 100%, because that's reckless, stupid, and you shouldn't actually be invited back into the club. That's brutally honest. One of the guys in our camp, he's in the same training camp that I'm in. He left a hematoma on another guy's leg, right? So clearly he's not going at 30%. It's probably more like going 80 or 90%. And this guy's like a wild bull, full of adrenaline all the time. And I think he's just incredibly anxious. And this is just a way for him to deal with his anxiety. But he first needs to learn to calm down and know club unless they have a really, really strict coach and comes in and says, slaps them on the back of the head and says, you need to calm down or get out. Right? That's actually what needs to be done. So all in all, remember, your body is trying to signal something to you before you even realize what it means or what it's trying to show you. So pay attention to the body. Or remember my good friend Locke would always say, pay attention to the body, Shaun. Pay attention to the body. You're not the body, but the body is a home for you to exist in. So if you don't take care of it, it will not take care of you. And that brings us to the end of this episode of Man in Your Corner. If you found value, once again, please go ahead and give us a rating on your podcast platform that you're listening to or viewing on right now. It helps get the message in front of or to the man who needs to hear it. Thanks so much. Remember that most people wait for their life to change. We are the ones who are architecting our choices and consciously choosing the life that we want. Change your state. Choose how you show up. I am Shaun Tucker. I'll see you in the next one.